I endured months of cold shoulder, until my wife's best friend turned up the heat, exposed her secret dating apps, and I chose dignity over marriage. No longer willing to be participating in patriarchal structures anymore, I knew I was about to give her the education she never saw coming. But let me back up and tell you how we got here, because this story starts with me discovering what happens when you actually give someone exactly what they ask for. 3 weeks ago, everything seemed normal. We'd been married for 6 years and I thought we had a good thing going. She handled most of the cooking and household management. I took care of the yard, car maintenance, and handled the majority of our finances. It worked. We both contributed in our own ways, and neither of us complained about the arrangement we'd naturally fallen into. Then she started spending time on social media, hours every day, scrolling through posts about women's liberation and traditional gender roles being tools of oppression. At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone needs hobbies, right? But then the comments started. You know, it's really unfair that I'm expected to cook dinner every night just because I'm the woman. I looked up from my laptop where I was reviewing our monthly budget. I never said you had to cook every night, you just do. Exactly. I do it because society has conditioned me to believe that's my role, but I'm done being oppressed by patriarchal expectations. I set down my laptop and gave her my full attention. This was new territory. Oppressed by me? Not just by you, by the entire system. Traditional marriage is just legalized servitude for women. We do all the emotional labor, all the housework, and men get to sit back and be waited on like kings. The way she said it, with this rehearsed confidence, told me she'd been practicing this speech, probably in front of her bathroom mirror after reading another empowering article about breaking free from domestic chains. I leaned back in my chair and studied her face. She was serious, dead serious. And she was waiting for me to argue, to get defensive, to prove her point about oppressive husbands who can't handle independent women. Instead, I smiled. You're absolutely right. She blinked. That wasn't the response she'd prepared for. What? You're right. If you feel like our current arrangement is unfair, then we should definitely change it. I'm all for equality. She straightened up, sensing victory, but also confused by how easy this was. Good, because I'm not cooking anymore, and I'm not doing laundry, and I'm definitely not cleaning up after you. That makes perfect sense. Why should you have to do those things just because you're a woman? Exactly. She was gaining momentum now. And I shouldn't have to ask permission to spend money or explain where I'm going when I want to hang out with my friends. Absolutely not. You're a grown woman. You should be completely independent. The confusion in her eyes was growing, but she pushed forward. And I don't want to hear any complaints about how much I spend on clothes or girls' nights out. My money is my money. I couldn't agree more. Your money should be entirely yours to spend however you want. She stood there for a moment waiting for the other shoe to drop. When it didn't, she nodded firmly. Good. I'm glad we understand each other. We definitely do. In fact, I think we should implement true equality starting tomorrow. No more traditional gender roles. No more patriarchal expectations. Just two completely independent people sharing the same space. Perfect. She walked away with this satisfied smile, like she'd just won a major victory. I went back to my laptop, but I wasn't looking at our budget anymore. I was making a different kind of list entirely. The next morning, she woke up expecting her usual coffee to be ready. I was already dressed and heading out the door. Where's the coffee? In the cabinet where it's always been. You know how to make it. You always make the coffee. I stopped and turned around. That was under the old patriarchal system. Remember? We're equals now. Make your own coffee. I watched her process this, and I could see the moment she realized she had walked into something, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. Fine, I will. Great. Oh, and I transferred half of our joint account balance into my personal account last night. Since we're going for complete financial independence, I figured you'd want to handle your own expenses from now on. Her coffee mug froze halfway to her lips. What do you mean, my own expenses? Well, you said your money is your money, which means my money is my money. So things like your car payment, your credit card bills, your half of the mortgage, groceries for your meals, your clothes, your entertainment, all yours now. The color drained from her face. That's not... I didn't mean... What didn't you mean? Because... Yesterday you were very clear about wanting complete independence from patriarchal financial structures. This is what independence looks like. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. She'd painted herself into a corner with her own words, and we both knew it. I need to think about this. Take all the time you need. Just remember, thinking is free. Everything else is going to cost you. I left her standing in the kitchen holding her self-made coffee, probably wondering what exactly she just signed up for. But this was only the beginning. She wanted to dismantle our traditional marriage. Fine. I was about to show her what a truly equal partnership looked like, and something told me she wasn't going to like the education I had planned. By the end of the first week, she was already testing the boundaries, expecting me to crack. She'd leave dishes in the sink for days, clothes scattered around the bedroom, and would order takeout every night, leaving the containers on the counter like some kind of passive-aggressive statement. She wanted me to break first, to beg her to go back to our old routine. Instead, I bought paper plates and plastic utensils. Just for me. What are those for? She asked, eyeing the disposable dinnerware I was unpacking. Since we're not sharing household duties anymore, I figured I'd make things easier on myself. These are mine. You can wash your own dishes whenever you feel like it. She stared at the growing pile of dirty plates in the sink. That's ridiculous. We have perfectly good dishes. We do. And they're sitting right there waiting for someone to wash them. Just not me. The frustration was building in her voice. So, you're just going to eat off paper plates like a child? I'm going to eat off whatever's most convenient for me, just like you're doing whatever's most convenient for you. Isn't equality wonderful? That night, she went out with her feminist book club friends. She didn't ask, didn't tell me where she was going, and came home at midnight smelling like wine and validation. I was already in bed reading. I had such an empowering evening, she announced loud enough to make sure I was awake. We talked about how women need to stop making their husbands the center of their universe. Sounds educational. It was. Did you know that most women lose their identity in marriage because they're too focused on pleasing their husbands? I looked up from my book. Is that what happened to you? She wasn't expecting me to turn it back on her. I know. I mean, maybe. That's why I'm reclaiming my independence. Good for you. How much did you spend tonight? Why? Just curious about how your independence budget is working out. She shifted uncomfortably. It was just dinner and drinks. Maybe $60. $60 for empowerment. That's actually pretty reasonable. The next morning, I found her staring at her laptop with a calculator out. Our monthly bills were spread across the kitchen table like she was trying to solve a puzzle. The mortgage payment is, how much? $1,800. Your half is $900. And the car payments. Yours is $420. Mine's $380. She was writing numbers down, and I could see her doing the math. Her part-time job at the boutique brought in maybe $1,200 a month. The numbers weren't adding up in her favor. This doesn't seem right. Which part? I shouldn't have to pay half of everything. I make less money than you do. I sat down across from her. So, you think the person who makes more money should pay more of the bills? Well, yes, that's only fair. That's actually a very traditional approach to marriage finances. The husband typically earned more, so he covered more of the expenses while the wife handled more of the household duties. Kind of like a trade-off. She realized what I'd just done. That's different. How? Because that system oppressed women by making them financially dependent. But now you want me to pay more because I earn more, which would make you financially dependent on me. So which is it? Do you want independence or do you want me to subsidize your lifestyle? Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to find an argument that didn't contradict everything she'd said the week before. I need to think about this. You do that, but rent's due in 2 weeks and your half is still $900. That afternoon she called her sister. I could hear the conversation from my office. He's being completely unreasonable. No, he's not yelling or anything, that's the problem. He just agrees with everything I say and then does exactly what I asked for. I know it sounds good, but it's not working out the way I thought. What do you mean I got what I wanted? The conversation went on for an hour. By the end, she sounded more frustrated than when she started. That evening, she tried a different approach. She cooked dinner just for herself, then sat at the table eating while I made myself a sandwich. Aren't you curious about what I made? Smells good. Hope you enjoy it. It's your favorite chicken parmesan. That was thoughtful of you to make your favorite dish. She set down her fork. It's your favorite too. It was. But since we're living independently now, I figure I should develop my own preferences. Besides, I wouldn't want you to feel like you were falling back into patriarchal cooking patterns. I wasn't. I just thought... What did you think? She didn't answer. She just sat there eating her chicken parmesan alone while I made my sandwich at the counter. The silence stretched between us, and I could feel her watching me, waiting for me to break character and ask for some of her dinner. But I didn't. I ate my sandwich, cleaned up my paper plate, and went back to my office. Around 10 o'clock, she appeared in my doorway. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About this arrangement." "What about it?" "I thought you were happy with your newfound independence." "I am. It's just, maybe we move too fast. Maybe we should ease into it." "Ease into equality?" "That seems counterproductive. Either we're equals or we're not." She leaned against the door frame, and I could see her trying to figure out how to get what she wanted without admitting she was wrong.
"I just think we should find a middle ground."
"What kind of middle ground?" "Like maybe I could cook sometimes and you could help with some of the bills." "So you want to go back to traditional gender roles?" "No, I want us to work together." Working together sounds suspiciously like the patriarchal marriage structure you wanted to escape from. She was trapped again, and she knew it. Every path led back to admitting that our original arrangement wasn't actually oppressive, just practical. "This isn't how I thought this would go." "How did you think it would go?" "I thought you'd realize that you were being unfair and we'd find a better way to share responsibilities." We did find a better way. Complete independence. No shared responsibilities at all. She stood there for a long moment, and I could see her realizing that she'd created a problem she didn't know how to solve. She wanted the benefits of traditional marriage without calling it traditional marriage. She wanted my support without admitting she needed it. "I'm going to bed. Sleep well. Tomorrow's rent calculation day. I wanted to make sure we split the utilities exactly down the middle." As she walked away, I heard her mutter something under her breath that sounded suspiciously like a complaint about how this wasn't what she meant. But that was the beauty of giving someone exactly what they ask for. They usually discover they didn't really want it after all. The second week brought reality crashing down on her independence movement. I'd spent the weekend calculating exactly what true equality looked like, and Monday morning, I presented her with an itemized breakdown that made her feminist manifesto meet cold, hard mathematics. "What's this?" she asked, staring at the spreadsheet I'd printed out. "Your independence invoice. I figured you'd want to see exactly how much your liberation costs." She scanned the list, her eyes getting wider with each line item. "Netflix subscription, Spotify, grocery delivery service. What is this?" "Those are services I pay for that you use. Since we're financially independent now, I thought you should handle your own entertainment and convenience expenses." "You're charging me for Netflix?" "I'm not charging you anything. I'm just not paying for your Netflix anymore. There's a difference." She looked back at the paper. "It says here, I owe $340 for this month alone. That's just the subscription services and your portion of utilities. We haven't even gotten to the groceries you ate or the gas you used in the car I pay insurance on. This is insane. This is equality. I thought you'd be excited." She crumpled up the paper. "You're being petty." "I'm being fair. For 6 years I've subsidized your lifestyle without thinking about it because that's what husbands do. But you made it clear that traditional husband roles are oppressive, so I'm liberating myself too." That afternoon, she discovered I'd changed the Wi-Fi password. "The internet isn't working." "It's working fine." "What's the password?" "It's the same as it's always been on my account." "Your account?" "Well, yes. I pay for it, so it's registered under my name. If you want internet access, you'll need to set up your own service." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. "You're seriously cutting off my internet?" "I'm not cutting off anything. You have complete freedom to purchase your own internet service. That's what independent people do. We live in the same house. We live in the same house that I pay the mortgage on." "Yes, but you wanted financial independence, and internet service is a financial expense." She stomped back to the living room, and I heard her trying to use her phone's data to video chat with her book club friends. 20 minutes later, she was back. "This is ridiculous. I can't function without reliable internet." "Then you should probably get some. It'll cost like $80 a month." "Sounds about right. That's what freedom costs." She spent the rest of the day calculating expenses, and I could see her independence budget crumbling in real time. By evening, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her head in her hands. "I can't afford all this." "Sure you can. You just have to prioritize." "Prioritize what?" "I barely make enough to cover half the mortgage." "Then maybe you should consider increasing your income." "I hear that's what empowered women do. I can't just magically make more money." "You could work more hours, pick up a second job, ask for a raise. You know, take control of your financial destiny." instead of expecting someone else to handle it for you. The look she gave me could have melted steel. You're enjoying this. I'm enjoying watching you discover what independence actually means. Most people figure this out before they get married, but better late than never. Wednesday brought the grocery situation to a head. She'd been eating the food in our refrigerator for 2 weeks without contributing to the grocery bill. I decided it was time to address that too. I came home from work to find her making a sandwich with my lunch meat. That's mine. She looked up from her sandwich. What? The turkey, the bread, the cheese. I bought all of it, so it's mine. You're seriously going to police sandwich ingredients now? I'm not policing anything. I'm just protecting my property. You wanted financial independence, which means you buy your own food. This is crazy. This is what you asked for. I opened the refrigerator and started putting small sticky notes on everything I purchased. Turkey, ham, yogurt, fruit, leftover pizza, condiments. Everything got a little note with my name on it. What are you doing? Making sure we don't have any confusion about ownership. Everything with my name on it is mine. Everything else is fair game. She looked in the refrigerator. The only things without my name were a half-empty bottle of ketchup and some wilted lettuce she'd bought weeks ago. There's nothing left. There's plenty left. You just need to stock up on your own groceries. With what money? The money you earn at your job. You know that independence you were so excited about. That night, she tried a different strategy. She put on her best dress and suggested we go out to dinner. My treat, she said with a smile that was trying way too hard. That's generous, but I already ate. Come on. We haven't had a nice dinner together in weeks. We haven't had any dinner together in weeks. You've been too busy being independent. I miss spending time with you. You see me every day. That's not what I mean, and you know it. I looked at her standing there in her dress, all made up, trying to use charm to get back what she'd thrown away. What exactly are you asking for? I'm asking for my husband to take me to dinner. But I thought traditional husband roles were oppressive. This is different. How? Because I'm asking. So when you want something from me, traditional marriage roles are fine. But when I expect something from you, they're oppressive. She didn't have an answer for that. She just stood there realizing that she couldn't have it both ways. I'll pay for my own dinner. She finally said, with what? You spent $60 on empowerment wine last week and now you're complaining about not having grocery money. I'll figure it out. I'm sure you will. That's what independent women do. She changed out of her dress and spent the evening eating a sad salad made from her wilted lettuce while I had leftover pizza in my office. Around 10 o'clock, I heard her on the phone with someone, and her voice had a desperate edge to it. Mom, can I borrow some money? Just until I figure things out. No, he's not being abusive. He's being fair. I know how that sounds. Can you just help me or not? The conversation didn't go well. Apparently, her mother wasn't interested in funding her daughter's independence experiment either. Thursday morning, she was waiting for me in the kitchen when I came down for coffee. We need to renegotiate. Renegotiate what? This arrangement, it's not working. It's working perfectly. You wanted independence. You got independence. You wanted equality. You got equality. This isn't what I meant. Then you should have been more specific about what you actually wanted. She took a deep breath, and I could see her swallowing her pride.
I want us to be partners.
Partners share responsibilities and benefits equally. That's exactly what we're doing. No, we're not. You're punishing me. I'm not punishing you. I'm just not subsidizing you anymore. There's a difference. So, what do you want? Do you want me to admit I was wrong? I don't want you to admit anything. I want you to figure out what you actually want, instead of complaining about what you asked for. She stood there for a long moment, and I could see her trying to find a way to get back to our old arrangement without losing face. What if we tried a different approach? What kind of approach? What if we both contributed what we could instead of splitting everything exactly in half? That sounds suspiciously like traditional marriage. It's not traditional marriage, it's practical partnership. Practical partnership that happens to look exactly like what we had before you decided it was oppressive. She didn't answer, but I could see in her eyes that she was starting to understand the hole she'd dug for herself. She wanted the security of her old arrangement, but she was too proud to admit that maybe, just maybe, it hadn't been oppressive after all. By week 3, she was running out of moves. Her independence budget was hemorrhaging money. Her credit card was maxed out from buying groceries, and her pride was the only thing keeping her from admitting defeat. That's when she decided to play the emotional manipulation card. It started subtly, sighing heavily whenever I walked into a room, mentioning how lonely she felt, making comments about how our marriage was falling apart. When that didn't work, she escalated. "Do you even love me anymore?" I looked up from my laptop where I was paying my bills. What does love have to do with financial independence? Don't turn this around on me. I asked you a question, and I'm trying to understand why you're asking it. 3 weeks ago, you wanted complete independence from patriarchal marriage structures. Now you want emotional validation. Which version of you am I supposed to respond to? I've always been the same person. The same person who called our marriage oppressive and refused to participate in traditional roles. That person. She sat down across from me, and I could see her preparing for a performance. I was just trying to grow as a person, to become more than just someone's wife. And how's that working out for you? You're being cruel. I'm being consistent. You wanted to find out who you were outside of our marriage. Now you're upset because you found out. That's not fair. What's not fair? The fact that independence costs money. The fact that equality means actual equality. Or the fact that you can't have the benefits of marriage without the responsibilities. She tried tears next. Real ones, not the manufactured kind. I feel like I'm losing you. You made it clear that you didn't want traditional marriage. I'm just giving you what you asked for, but I still want us to be close. Close how? Emotionally, financially, physically, because you've systematically dismantled every connection we had. I didn't mean to. You meant to challenge patriarchal structures. Mission accomplished. She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice was smaller. What if I was wrong? Wrong about what? About everything? About traditional marriage being oppressive? Are you asking me or telling me? I'm asking what you think. I closed my laptop and gave her my full attention. I think you got caught up in an ideology that sounded empowering online but turned out to be expensive and lonely in real life. So, you think I was stupid? I think you were naive. There's a difference. I don't know how to fix this. Fix what? Your finances, your independence experiment, or your marriage? All of it. Those are 3 different problems with 3 different solutions. She wiped her eyes. I can't afford to live like this. Then don't. But I can't just go back to the way things were. I'll look like a hypocrite. To who? Your book club friends? The internet strangers who convinced you that your marriage was oppressive? To everyone. Let me tell you something about everyone. Everyone isn't paying your bills. Everyone isn't sleeping in your bed. Everyone isn't married to you. I am. So, what are you saying? I'm saying that if you want to base your marriage on what other people think, you're going to have a very expensive and very lonely life. She was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. I miss us. Us never went anywhere. You just decided we were problematic. I was wrong about what specifically? About thinking that our arrangement was unfair. About thinking that you were taking advantage of me. About thinking that I needed to prove something to myself or anyone else. And I want to go back to the way things were. That's not how this works. Her head snapped up. What do you mean? I mean, you don't get to blow up our marriage, realize it was a mistake, and then snap your fingers to undo it. There are consequences to choices. What kind of consequences? The kind where you prove that you actually understand what you're asking for this time. How do I do that? First, you pay back every dollar you owe from your independence experiment. Every grocery bill, every utility payment, every subscription service. You wanted to be financially responsible for yourself. So, be financially responsible for yourself. That'll take months. Then it takes months. What else? You figure out what you actually bring to this marriage besides complaints about oppression. I bring lots of things. Name them. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I need to think about that. You do that. But while you're thinking, remember that I've spent 3 weeks showing you what marriage looks like when one person stops contributing. Maybe it's time for you to show me what it looks like when someone actually appreciates what they have. She nodded slowly, and for the first time in weeks I could see her actually listening instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are we going to be okay? That depends entirely on what you do next. She lasted exactly 2 days trying to handle the consequences alone before running to her support network. I knew it was coming because desperate people always follow the same playbook. When personal responsibility becomes too expensive, find someone else to blame. The first call was to her sister. I could hear her in the bedroom, voice getting higher with each sentence. He's completely changed. No, he's not yelling. That's what makes it worse. He just agrees with everything and then does exactly what I asked for. I know how it sounds, but you don't understand. The conversation ended with her sister apparently not taking her side. Strike one. Next came the book club emergency session. She left the house Friday evening with renewed confidence, convinced her feminist allies would validate her position and help her strategize against my unreasonable demands for equality. She came back 3 hours later looking like she'd been hit by a truck. How did your empowerment meeting go? They said I got what I asked for. Smart women. They said if I wanted traditional marriage benefits, I shouldn't have rejected traditional marriage responsibilities. Even smarter. One of them said I sounded like I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. Brilliant. Actually, she collapsed onto the couch. They're supposed to be on my side. They're on your side. They're just not on the side of you being a hypocrite. Saturday morning brought phase 2 of her campaign, family intervention. Her mother called while I was having coffee. She wants to talk to both of us. I took the phone. Good morning. What exactly are you doing to my daughter? Giving her the independence she requested. She says you've cut off her access to money and food. I've cut off my subsidization of her lifestyle. She has complete access to money she earns and food she buys. That's not how marriage works. According to your daughter, traditional marriage is oppressive patriarchy. I'm just helping her avoid oppression. There was a long pause. She says you're being vindictive. I'm being consistent. She wanted equality. She got equality. She wanted independence. She got independence. The only thing vindictive here is her assumption that I'd keep paying for everything while she contributed nothing. Marriage is about compromise. It is. But she wasn't interested in compromise 3 weeks ago. She was interested in revolution. I'm just showing her what revolution costs. Another pause. What do you want from her? I want her to decide what she actually wants, instead of changing the rules every time the consequences get uncomfortable. And if she wants to go back to how things were, then she needs to prove she understands the value of what she threw away. Her mother hung up after that. Apparently, even family wasn't going to fund her independence experiment. Sunday brought the nuclear option, public humiliation. She decided to post about our situation on social media, painting herself as the victim of a controlling husband who was financially abusing her. I found out because 3 different people sent me screenshots. The post read, "When you try to grow as a person in your marriage, but your husband punishes you by cutting off access to basic necessities. Apparently, wanting equality means losing everything you need to survive. This is what financial abuse looks like." I read it twice, then walked into the living room where she was refreshing her phone, watching the comments roll in. Interesting post. She looked up with defiant eyes. I have a right to share my experience. Absolutely. Freedom of speech and all that. Very independent of you. People need to know what you're really like. What am I really like? Controlling, manipulative, financially abusive. I sat down across from her. Let me ask you something. In your post, did you mention that you declared traditional marriage oppressive? That's not relevant. Did you mention that you refused to cook, clean, or contribute to household responsibilities? I explained that I was trying to grow as a person. Did you mention that you demanded complete financial independence? I mentioned that I wanted equality. Did you mention that I gave you exactly what you asked for? She didn't answer. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to post a response with screenshots of our bank statements, our grocery receipts, and a timeline of every demand you made for independence. Let your internet friends see the full picture of your growth journey. Her face went white. You wouldn't. Why not? You wanted transparency. You wanted people to know what I'm really like. I'm just expanding the conversation to include what you're really like. That's private information. So was our marriage, but you made it public. You wanted to crowdsource validation for your victim narrative. Now let's crowdsource some accountability for your choices. She stared at me, realizing that her public shaming strategy had just backfired spectacularly. I'll delete the post. Too late. Screenshots are forever, but I'll make you a deal. Delete it now and I'll keep our financial records private. Leave it up and I'll provide your audience with the context they need to make an informed judgment. She deleted the post within 30 seconds. Smart choice. I hate you right now. No, you don't. You hate that your manipulation tactics don't work on me anymore. There's a difference. Everything I do, you turn against me. Everything you do is an attempt to avoid the consequences of your own choices. I'm just not participating in that anymore. So, what happens now? Now you decide if you want to be an adult or if you want to keep playing victim, but you don't get to do both. Monday morning brought the final confrontation. She was waiting for me in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and what looked like a prepared speech. Her phone was face down on the table. Her laptop was closed, and for the first time in a month, she wasn't scrolling through social media looking for validation. I need to say something. I poured my own coffee and sat down. I'm listening. I've been thinking about everything that's happened, and I realize I created this mess. Go on. I got caught up in this idea that our marriage was holding me back. But the truth is, I was just bored. I was looking for drama where there wasn't any, and I convinced myself that you were the problem instead of admitting that I was restless and looking for something to blame it on. She took a breath, and I could see this was hard for her. I wasn't depressed. I was spoiled. And when you called my bluff, I realized how good I actually had it. Keep going. I want to fix this. Not because I can't afford to live independently, even though I can't. And not because I'm embarrassed about how this turned out, even though I am. I want to fix this because I finally understand what I threw away. What did you throw away? A partnership with someone who actually cared about making my life easier instead of making it harder. I waited to see if there was more. I know I can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to normal. I know I have to prove that I get it now. How do you plan to do that? She pulled out a piece of paper. I wrote down everything I owe you. Every grocery bill, every utility payment, every subscription. It comes to $847. That sounds about right. I'm going to pay you back all of it. I picked up extra shifts at work and I'm selling some of my clothes online. It'll take me about 3 months, but I'll pay back every penny. And then what? Then I want to renegotiate our partnership. Not because I'm desperate, but because I actually understand what partnership means now. What does it? It means both people contribute what they can and appreciate what the other person brings to the table. It means not taking someone for granted just because they make your life easier. She folded her hands on the table. I also want to apologize for trying to make you the villain when I was the one who created this situation. Apology noted. I have one more thing to say. What's that? Traditional marriage isn't oppression. Taking care of each other isn't oppression. Having different roles that play to our strengths isn't oppression. I was just too immature to see the difference between partnership and servitude. I studied her face, looking for signs that this was another manipulation tactic. But her eyes were clear and her voice was steady. She wasn't performing anymore. So, what exactly are you asking for? I'm asking for a chance to prove that I can be the partner you deserve, instead of the entitled brat I turned into. And what does that look like? It looks like me appreciating what I have instead of complaining about what I don't have. It looks like contributing to our life together, instead of demanding that you fund my personal growth journey. It looks like being grateful for a husband who puts up with my nonsense, instead of looking for reasons to criticize him. She reached across the table. I don't want independence from you. I want interdependence with you. I want to be part of something bigger than just myself. I looked at her hand, then back at her face. This isn't about what you want anymore. This is about what you're willing to do. I'm willing to earn my way back into this marriage. How? By proving every day that I understand the difference between being an equal partner and being an entitled burden. And if you slip back into your old patterns, then you have my permission to remind me exactly how expensive independence really is. I took her hand. Fair enough, but understand this. I'm not going back to subsidizing someone who doesn't appreciate it. If you want partnership, you get partnership. If you want independence, you get independence. But you don't get to switch back and forth based on what's convenient. I understand. And no more social media validation for your relationship problems. Already deleted all those accounts. And no more book club sessions about oppressive husbands. I quit the book club. And no more taking for granted that I'll just handle everything while you figure yourself out. I want to handle things together. I squeezed her hand. Then let's start handling things together. She smiled for the first time in weeks, and it looked genuine. Thank you for not giving up on us. I never gave up on us. I just stopped enabling you. I know the difference now. Good. Because the woman I married was smart enough to know the difference. I was starting to wonder where she went. She's right here, and she's not going anywhere again. 3 months later, she paid back every dollar. 6 months later, she still says, "Thank you," when I cook dinner. A year later, she tells people that the best thing that ever happened to our marriage was when she tried to destroy it. Because sometimes you have to give people exactly what they ask for before they realize what they actually want. Our story has come to an end. If you've made it this far, how about subscribing to our channel? It helps us immensely. I've selected 2 other videos for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Feel free to click on them. I'll be waiting for you in the next story. See you soon.